welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't even know what episode number we are on. It is the morning episode, but it is happy because we have the Port Misery with us.
Yay.
Nice hoodie. We love it.
It's in honor of my girl and me getting the house.
Yes.
Yes, I love it.
Love to move across town.
Listen.
We got the house and the mansion across next door.
Connie's own mansion. Just fuck her.
Want her to know in death that we won.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my God, I can't stand Connie. Ugh. Anyway, I didn't even know I was going to talk about that, but put that shit on the record. Couldn't stand Connie. And Olivia hotter with Johnny than whatever they were trying to do with Connie. Anyway,
Absolutely.
we're here. And so we're gonna switch it up a little bit because we obviously found out on Thursday. Was it Thursday? Friday?
It was Friday.
Friday. A random troll account leaked that Sydney Mikayla would be leaving GH to focus on her studies, which we are very proud of, but also really sad. And so because people know that we love Sydney, wanted to like hold some space on top of the episode to talk about that. And I mean, I'm sure we'll weave it throughout, but wanted to like really be able to hold space on top of the episode to really talk about our Sydney feels, our Trina feels, our Sprina feels. How are y'all doing?
Not great.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew this was coming. I could feel it. I held hope when she posted how well she did fall quarter. For those of you who don't know, I work in the UC system. Like I'm a PhD student at UC Santa Barbara. It's the exact same system that UCLA is on. And so when she said like, oh, I got a 4.0 for my fall quarter, I was like, girl, you're killing it. That not a lot of people do that. Maybe she can do this. But I knew in the back of my mind, like all of this, that I went to a UC, I knew all the stuff that I did when I was in college. And I'm like, oh, she's got to make them like 5 a.m. call times. And she got to be like studying and then memorizing lines and so when I found out that she was choosing to like her college experience over the show, I 100% supported it. I was sad. But I got it 100% because I loved college. I loved it so much. I'm never going to leave. So girl, go have fun. Go have fun. I thank you for all the years. Thank you for the memories. If you ever want to come back, I will accept you.
Always.
Immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely feeling I'm, moving through several stages of grief all at once, kind of all the time. But right now, I know we'll have we still have a couple more episodes of our show before Sydney departs, because her last episode's March 17th. So I'm sure I will have lots of different things to share about how I'm feeling over it, but I am impressed at such a mature decision. I certainly was not mature enough to make that decision. Not that I was in the position to make that decision at 19, but I do think it's, I'm really happy for her that she's giving herself the time and space to be fully present. Because as Tara says, like, you can't get this time in your life back. And I think about that even more now as like, having had quite a bit of distance from that time of my life. And I think especially young people now in like the world that we're living in, I'm just like, go get your joy. Go get your joy. You've been working your whole ass life. So it was fun to see her, she had posted to her Instagram stories about being at the game, and I just look forward to just seeing her thrive. Because I think one of the things that we can all see about Sydney is that she made such a big impact on the show in such a short amount of time, like relative to how long many others have been on the show. And I know that whatever she chooses to do moving forward, she will make that sort of impact. She's just going to keep growing in her power. She's already a very powerful person.
Definitely. I mean, listen, when I was in college, I was struggling with my 10-hour campus job, like I was like, I'm trying to study and I'm trying to go out and I'm trying to be fast. I can't do all of this. And and I want Sydney to be able to experience all of that. And so like it's really sad. Like it's like but anything that's like really big is always sad. When you graduate, it's sad. When you like get a new house, it's like you feel a little like something. Like anytime you do anything big in your life, it's sad. And I think, as Sandra said, like Sydney made such a huge impact. She took Trina from being kind of a sidekick character from a legacy character to being like beloved and kind of the center of that friend group. That's talent, that's skill, that's charisma. If you really think about, she was gold in every scene with every person. There was not a person who didn't shine more because they were in a scene with her. Whether we like that character, or whatever, like whoever was around her. When she got in a scene with Ned, I was like, why is Sydney Mikayla like shining this light on Ned? You know what I mean? Like it was just everywhere she's gone. And so that's hard to quantify. And it's impossible to replace. And I feel really confident that we're going to support another young Black girl who stepped into her place. We talked on this show last time. It's so weird to have you here again, Tara, on this like almost circle moment, because I specifically remember saying, and I was being dramatic, but I was like, Nicholas is halfway through his contract. We're not going to have him together. After the show, Sandra was like, Nicholas is not halfway through his contract. You need to calm down. but I did say, like we're not going to have these extremely talented young people forever. And so we need to like enjoy them. And so my hope is that Sydney knows that we have enjoyed all of her time, that we're going to continue to like cheerlead for her, that she's like left a character, like Trina as a character that Sydney built is so important that we have to recast her. Right. And so we know ABC soaps have like sent Black kids to fucking basketball camp to never be seen again. So to like understand how important Trina is really such a testament to what Sydney built. And so supporting another young Black girl does not mean that we're not sad about Trina, does not that we're not sad that Sydney is leaving. It does not mean that we think it's going to be the exact same, but I'm always going to root for another Black girl to be set up for success. And Sydney has shown that she's also rooting for another Black girl to be set up for success.
Yeah. I'm so glad they didn't Maya award her. Right. Just like, I can't handle this. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to Berkeley, and just leave forever. I think that we do have confirmation that Tabyana Ali is taking over the role. They are in contact with each other. And so we know that Sydney is giving her tips. Sydney also Trina has been left on a really good place for Tabyana to take over because I know we're not there yet, but one of my favorite moments was Trina reminding Jocelyn that she's not her fucking sidekick. She's not her sidekick, asking Cam if he took some mediation course she wasn't aware of.
A moment.
Like, tell him to shut up. And so, this newer Trina has such a great springboard that Sydney left her. And that is a testament to Sydney. Like you said, Tracy, like Black characters get shipped away or blown up. Like I can list the Black characters and Sean Butler, gone. He's moving to start a Invader branch on the West Coast. Like he was the only one who could make it successful. Peter was too busy scheming, I guess. And so he's already been shipped away. So I love that she was recast. It's precedent now. She's important.
Exactly. Well, I'm sure that we will give more love to Sydney in this episode. I'm sure, on our social media, on future episodes, but I did want to just like give that space up top because I know that it's like looming on anybody who watches our show. I would imagine that you're a Sprina fan. I don't really know what you're doing if you are not. And so people would, there's a certain taste, that we cultivate. And that is the taste of being a Sprina fan. And so I know that folks are like, it's hard. And it's one of those things where you want to make sure that you have that balance of like feeling your feelings, but also we know Sydney is like scrolling social media and like responding to fans. And so what I don't want to be like is, fuck school, you know what I mean? Like I want it to be like she knows that she left a legacy, that we're proud, and we're really proud that she's like made this mature decision for herself. So
yeah.
Also, no conspiracy theories. I think that was the one thing that was driving me bananaramas on Friday, is that we had a bunch of just people just projecting their own feelings and how they were feeling about the character into like why Sydney left. And I saw a couple people who were like, well, she wasn't getting good storyline, and so she decided to leave, or like she was being missed. This was probably the one that irritated me the most, because we know that these teens are really good friends. We know that like the actors that Sydney works with are really supportive of her, the older actors. They said that she wasn't being treated well. And that's why. I mean, even the actors that we know, we have rumors about, that have been, Sydney has been on Steve Burns' podcast. That's all I'm going to say. I highly doubt anybody has been mistreating Sydney Mikayla. But that's.
They know I'll be right up there at Studio City. What are we talking about? Trina got an army of aunties and we pulling up. Mm-hmm. What is this? What's happening? I also think that, and then also I just want to shout out Ashley Jones, who is like consistently held space for Sprina fans, has been like Nicholas and Sydney's like #1 cheerleader. When is Sprina gonna kiss? Like that has been nothing but like people be wilding in the tag. She's like, okay, so back to what's for real, which is like our actors and our pairing. So I just want to like shout her out as being that person. And there was like, since we're going to address it, like there was like other stuff like, oh, people are using a script. I'm like, no, the script is like being good people. The script is congratulations, Sydney, in the very way where Sandra and Javier dropped my favorite Tyrese video, which is like Tyrese saying congratulations.
Oh my God.
It's exactly that feeling. And, like, again, like I said, we know these young actors scroll and they're young. And so we know they scroll online. And so I'm very careful of the way I talk about them. And it's not about policing other people's language. It's about saying, this is how I am going to engage. You can do what you want to do. Chances are I've muted you and I won't see that shit no way. This is how I'm going to behave.
Yep. Yeah, everyone should feel their feelings, and I would never want to police anyone's feelings. And then there's what you do with your feelings. That's also really important, that we have boundaries around how we express our feelings online versus private. And I just think fandom is always interesting. It's always a little bit of a reflection of our projections and like what we've gone through, what we're drawn to, what have you. And it's good to practice self-awareness around. I personally am a person who I need time to process if something big emotionally happens on the show before I start talking about it. And that's my process. So maybe that might be helpful for other people. Maybe it won't. And I also have all week had my mutes and my blocks on lock. So not even knowing that this was going to happen. But yeah, everyone should just take care of themselves and Hydrate.
Also, just like if you have insider information, I follow a couple of people who happen to have insider information. So, they'll drop some tea and some DMs. I mean, everybody knows that this is happening, but like the fact that like people are not respecting that, that is an issue because this was leaked. It wasn't something where I think there was sort of confusion about when confirmation was given, and like then the person who gave confirmation was sort of piled on because that person was put in that position. Someone leaked it. It was spreading through the timeline like a wildfire. It happened at like 7 a.m, wet Pacific Coast time. And so it's like 10 a.m. on the East Coast. It is like flooding through the tags. I think like a handful of people had this knowledge. They hadn't told anyone. The leak was the first time I had heard it, and I immediately was like, ignore. Like, I think I retweeted them and was like, this is nonsense. And then the person was forced to come out, who knew, was forced to come out and say something to sort of they didn't want to leave people hanging. And then they ended up getting piled on because 2 hours later, Soap Opera Digest confirms it with Sydney's quote. Now, the original person who leaked it is the person in the wrong, not the person who decided to spare people's feelings and not make them wait for SOD. And I just want that to be very clear because there was some things like, oh, this is professional journalism. What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, you would have been more upset if the person had let us wait until Monday maybe? Because I'm sure SOD had to hurry up and release their statement because it had already been like essentially confirmed. And so everybody's timeline got pushed up. I have a feeling that this was supposed to drop on Monday or sometime over this weekend. It was not supposed to come out the way it came out. And everybody after who was forced to confirm it is not in the wrong.
Yeah.
That's their job. They're so pressed.
Yeah. I didn't see a lot of that because mute's on lock. But I think I am more concerned about like what that means for like the actors and like how they process things. If they would have let that hang for the weekend, do you know how Sydney's mentions would have looked? That poor child, like it would have just been pandemonium. And let me just also say, I'm not policing anybody's language. I don't even like the police.
This is true. This is well documented. This is very well documented.
Yep. Let's get into it. Y'all ready to get into a recap?
Yes, please remind me what happened this week.
It was not good. I'm gonna just say it was not a good week. There were good things that happened, and I thought Friday was a good day. And I'm just gonna give y'all some top lines. I'm gonna miss some things because I want to get into the discussion. So
feel free to miss things. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Here we are. Sean saw Harmony being shady at Charlie's before he said goodbye to TJ. Alexis encouraged Harmony to just tell Willow the truth. Carly and Drew, aka Loving the Crew, saw Sunny and Nina together at the penthouse. Sunny is not having it with Drew, but finally divorce papers are signed. Drew had words with Nina. BLQ is out of town and Chase confided his true feelings for her and Finn. Why did she leave? Anyway, Sunny's baby mamas formed a club and went axe throwing. Sam, Olivia, and Carly, maybe they will invite Alexis and Nathan next time.
Oh.
Drew offered Marshall a job, but there was a background check. So after initially turning it down, he talked to Curtis and then he doubled back and accepted it. Elizabeth's story took center stage. Betsy is back in town. Shout out to that interaction between her and Scott. And we find out she couldn't have been behind the latest strange occurrences, but they are trying to throw clues that make it look like Jake might be. Finn Hamilton was in John McBain mode. We will talk about that. I just want my DID. Sorry to editorialize. Sasha is taking secret pills and proposing marriage to Brando. And since they don't know each other well enough, he does not know that she is acting out of character. Anna and Liesel bury the hatchet. Esme puts her sex tape clip plan in motion. A mess turns out, just that conversation with Laura. Anyway, Laura, Anna, Drew, and Sam are teaming up against Victor. Ava is also playing secret spy. We are getting closer.
Viva! Sorry.
To our Viva. Somehow we talked about Courtney a lot. Whew. But it did give us the Spencer jailbreak. And that's really all I have for recap, y'all. I'm so trifling. I did not do it. It was just.
Forgot Curtis altogether, but it's fine.
Oh yeah, Curtis moved in together, but even Brooke ain't into it. We'll talk about that.
Jordan came back.
Portia came back.
Jordan.
Portia, you're right. Sorry. Look, this is my brain. Jordan came back. She is now commissioner again. She got reinstated in the hallway by Laura.
After being kicked
Felicia
out of
checked everybody and told them Mac was not coming back to work.
She got kicked out of the PCPD group chat, but she's back. She's back in.
Damn.
So, how did you feel about the overall week, and what was your favorite moment?
How did I feel? I mean, I feel like how I felt about the week was I didn't remember what happened any day but Friday. I remember there was axe throwing, and I liked that actually. I know people were like, why are we having this? Why do we have this set and not this set and not this, the way that people are. But I think it's actually great when we show our characters doing things besides sitting across tables from each other. It's actually really important to building dynamics between people, for them to not just be sitting at the Metro Court or the Port Charles Grill or Charlie's or Kelly's. People in Port Charles love to eat out, and maybe they need to learn how to cook. Anyway, but the overall week was but there were some really nice moments, and I think Friday was a really good episode actually, so I was excited about it. My favorite moment, this was actually hard. I'm gonna have to go with Spencer's jailbreak because I've wanted it. This has been my crack storyline. It didn't play out the exact way that I wanted, which was that I wanted Trina to break Spencer out on day 29. It was very specific, my vision. However, I will accept this manifestation of it. But in all seriousness, I really loved the Spencer scenes on Friday. He really took us through all the feelings, and he is one of 2 actors that have ever made me feel any kind of sadness about Courtney being dead, and that's him and Tyler Christopher. So that is a feat in of itself. And he really just turned it on when, first he was angry with Esme for trying to kiss him. Loved that. Great. Threw the Alexis's Brothers Karamazov book across the table, and I was like, same. It's really hard to be stuck in prison and all you have is Dostoevsky to read.
Real.
But then when the tears came, I don't even like Courtney.
For real.
who does? But that was very touching. And I love that he didn't remember that Esme's parents were dead.
Sure didn't.
Shout out to that creepy ass moment she had. She was like, I don't talk about my parents.
I don't like talking about them.
Oh shit.
Chrissy and I really did look at each other across the room like, I'm too.
Like, you killed the parents, huh? I'm convinced.
Shout out to Avery for that. And I appreciate, this is probably going a little bit into projection of like what's to come, but I appreciate that the jailbreak facilitated a non-prison Sprina moment for us on Monday. And knowing what we know about Sydney's timeline for leaving, that could be pretty important. So it was it was the most generative set of scenes for me with Spencer. What about you, Tara?
Me, okay, I have two. The week was whatever. There was stuff happened. Like people were living in Port Charles, yay. But it was, the first one was both Cameron and Jake being forced to look at their mother's sex portrait for a whole fucking episode. And of course, shout out to Susie, who pointed out that whoever drew it couldn't do hands. Like Elizabeth's hands were like, they were crazy. So that was one. The second one was learning that it is 2025 in Port Charles, because they made it both Spencer's 19th birthday and didn't correct Courtney's death to 2003, because she did die in 2006. So they gave her on-screen death on the fucking tombstone, but made Spencer 19, which means for any of this to work, it is 2025 in the city of Port Charles. I solved it. I solved it, everyone. It doesn't matter what day it is, because we're 3 years in the future.
What a time to be alive.
So happy for me. But those are mine too.
Obviously Spencer was my favorite. But if I'm going outside of what y'all said, I loved Trina like going at chaos. She was just like, y'all can shut the fuck up, okay? Like, Cameron, I'm sorry, I didn't know your simple ass has taken mediation classes. Cameron was like, you right, you got it. I just like really fucking appreciate.
Shut the fuck up, Cam.
It was just because I had said something before that people, somebody subtweeted us, so that's fine, about how I really liked that Trina is like so strategic. And so everybody's like, oh, Trina should like drag Esme. She should blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, Trina like does that around the of anything that Trina knows that Esme has done. She probably doesn't feel like it's worth it to like get into that kind of confrontation with her. But she got into that confrontation with Joss and Cam, who she has a relationship with. She loves Spencer, so she's read the fuck out of Spencer. So now that we know what Esme has done to her and she's learning what Esme has done to her, I think that we're going to see her go off. So it wasn't that I said I don't want Trina to go off on people. I said I admired that Trina is measured and does it in the right, like, she's not a hothead. Trina is like, okay, these are the relationships I care about. I'm going off here. When she dismissed Esme, when she walked away, I don't even have time for you. I gotta go. And like didn't even paid her literal dust. And now that Esme is coming for her in a public way, that gets into projections, she's gonna go off on her, which is appropriate. So I just really loved everything about what Trina did. And then I loved like that very small moment at Mac's bedside where Felicia came in and checked everybody, and both Laura and Anna was like, we want no smoke. We actually know you'll push a bitch down, so we're gonna exit the room. I loved it. It was just like the dynamic between those three women is just like so good.
Jeannie was especially killing me in that scene because she was just like, me? She put on those like Laura innocent face. I would never.
Can't
She was doing a lot of that this week, like with her and Ava. Well, I trust you'll know when it's time to tell me something, and just don't tell my dumbass son anything, please.
It's like, we know my son's a fucking idiot. If it was Tyler, he would still be kind of dumb, but this guy is a fucking idiot. So please don't tell him anything.
I just love Felicia's got this like I murdered Peter August energy. She's like her aura is glowing with the murder of Peter August. Like I did it. Jason couldn't do it. Franco couldn't do it. Drew couldn't do it. Only I could do it. And so everybody listens to me now. Like I'm not being kept in the corner. I love Jeannie having all the time in the world to read Victor every time she sees him.
She's got time.
And I love that Victor is like now, because like before we would always see him at this like playful, like even like the energy he had for Laura was like, I'm so sorry, I know you don't fuck with me. This week he was like really like, what do you mean? I love Victor's denials of what, because it's always some shit he did.
Always.
How dare you? Like, how dare you think? Allegedly. And it's always like something he did, but it was the energy between him and Laura has like really shifted on his end. And I find that to be really fascinating. So I guess now that this fake heat wave is over, that we don't know where it came from, the energy has like shifted into Victor.
Was that just a thing? Are we gonna come back to this, or is that just some stupid thing?
I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine.
And probably as good as Chris and Dan's too.
Chris and Dan, don't forget, there was a heat wave. Can you close the loop on that? I don't directly address you very often, but
Or are they trying to be realistic? Like, well, this is climate change. How like it was 70 in Chicago this weekend or some bullshit. Like
they're projecting how the climate will be in 2025.
Maybe.
God, they're visionaries.
2025.
But could you keep it hot? Because I would love for the Metro Court pool set to reopen. That is a lovely dynamic set. So it's my request.
They can't have both the pool set and the axe throwing set. You got to pick one.
No, I want both forever.
I love that Curtis's competition in this world is an axe throwing bar. Like that's the new competition the Champagne Room has. I refuse to learn its name.
Why?
I don't know what it's called.
It's called the Live Music Lounge.
No sex in the Champagne Room, and it stays by that rule. Love it. Love that for it. Never had sex in that bar.
No Mob Academy. Yeah, all of that. Performer of the week. We don't have Tanya here. So I think that she would have gone here, but we'll ask Tanya next week. Performer of the week, no surprise. He has won it many times before. Nicolas Chavez. He is the person who had the standout performance. Sandra said, like, somebody who could actually make us feel something about Courtney's death. He like took us through a journey of emotions in just like one sitting, but it wasn't over the top. Like it was over the top, but it wasn't over the top acting. It was over the top Spencer. It was like very in character, very much who he would be, who he is. I actually had a chance to watch some clips of like younger Spencer over the week. Just to like, I was nostalgic for Tyler. And it just like reminded me the really difficult like role he stepped in, and that he like made it his own, but it also is still grounded in what was there for him. And not a lot of actors could do that, and for this to be his first role and him to be able to do that is just there's not really much that we haven't said about Nicholas that we can say again. He's just phenomenal in the role. In the scene partners, he went from snapping off on Esme to being like, just kidding, baby, I give all my friends gifts. So like, forcing Victor's hand into like letting him out. And then going to Courtney's like grave and seeing Trina, and like the look he gave Trina was, I mean, it's just like he is able so quickly to step into these emotions. And so often with acting, I think you see people who are clearly following like the cues, like in their script, it's like, you are sad now, you are this now. And with Nicholas, it's just like he's in the moment and he's reacting to his partners, and it's so good. So performer of the week to Nicholas, and then runner up, just as we love him, is Hudson West. The fact that the liaison baby is my favorite of Liz's kids, who would have ever thought? Who would have ever thought? And it's just, I'm really glad that they have waited on Hudson's schedule. He's so talented. If you haven't watched the episode of Grey's Anatomy where he's in, it like breaks your heart every time you see it. He's so good. And so I'm glad to see that they kind of have waited around to like give Hudson parts of this story. And I actually am hopeful, because I saw him on Twitter and like retweeting people saying that he was good and should get a contract and all these things. And so I'm hoping that this means that there's a little bit more of him to this story, and that we see Jake kind of play a bigger role.
Yeah, he's so good. When I saw the Jake spoilers coming up, I was like, please, please, please be Hudson. Please be Hudson. He's too good to lose. And the scenes with him and Cam were also like, they were short and sweet and like exactly what I needed to even just see them pick kind of back up. Because we didn't necessarily get to see like the conclusion, right, between them. We didn't get to see the resolution for the tension between them after Franco died and Cam was accusing Jason and being super wild. We got to see that there was still tension after Cam like came to his senses, but we didn't get to see like the build back of their relationship. And so I appreciated just that quick little exchange between them that was really meaningful. And so also shout out to William, who we haven't seen as much of as he was recovering from surgery. And so it was nice to have him back this week too. And always like, damn, Nicholas Chavez, do your thing. Do your thing. And I loved in that exchange with Esme when that's what you brought up, Tracy, when he was like, I got all my friends thank you gifts. When has he ever given Cam or Joss a gift?
Where has he ever given anyone a gift?
Yes, besides giving Emma that Fabergé egg. And he said, it's a lot easier than sending a handwritten card. Oh, so what about that
handwritten card? Yeah.
In that book. And when he was saying, oh no, baby, I forgot, and the gift and all that, his face looked the exact same as it did in that car ride back after the cabin. And I was like, I see you. You are a lying liar who lies. And I love it.
Never change.
I have a random runner-up performer of the week, Frank Valentini, for being a clown and giving us a whole ass Courtney episode when we asked for an Alan Quartermain episode. Who asked for that?
I want to know where Frank went to clown college.
For real.
He was a very effective clown.
Though I will say I was joyful at the amount of Courtney slander on the timeline. Literally gleeful. Okay. Courtney was awful. Okay. And usually I'm very contrarian. I mean, you know, if you listen to the show, you know, I like pick characters that like the other people don't like, which is why like I'm a Carly fan. You know, like I get it. But even being as contrarian as I am sometimes, I cannot bring myself to fake like Courtney. Woo, never. It's just never. It's a no from me.
What's to even hold on to there? You know, like I'm a Libra. I can find something nice to say about just about anyone. And just like, I like to just say like true things about people that I don't really like and just hold on to that. And thank you for having Spencer.
And then immediately dying.
And immediately dying. Thank you
My
for
favorite thing about you.
being dead. You are still dead, so thank you. Thank you for, I will say the one thing I loved about all this random out of the blue Courtney talk, we only really started talking about Courtney again when Spencer came back, is that like all of this was just a backdrop to get Sprina together in the same scene. So thank you everyone who participated in this weird Courtney nostalgia. You were just a backdrop for our favorite couple. So
because let me say something, Miss Carly, Corinthos, Jax, Corinthos, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know the names. How dare you? How dare you talk about how the Metro Court is named after Courtney, but then you wouldn't let her son stay there. And now you're talking about being on, like, because Joss and Spencer are on the outs, you haven't really seen him. Girl, you weren't seeing him before that. You ain't cared about Spencer since you stole him with Jax from Nicholas.
that's the truth.
Don't do this, Carly. I was like, don't do this to my child. You literally kicked him out of the Metro Court, named after his mama.
In my girl's defense, neither is Nicholas.
Oh my God. Nicholas, trash.
They were kikiing over Courtney. Courtney would have loved this. Really, Nicholas?
Also, shout out to that one person who said that Courtney was the love of Nicholas's life and got dragged. Like, girl.
I didn't even like Emily Quartermain, and I knew. I was like, no, honey, no, we're not doing this.
No, it's just false. He was in love with Emily the whole time he was with Courtney.
Which is why Courtney went out of town.
Yes.
He banged Courtney because Emily was busy being broken from her rape.
Trash.
It was trash.
And we loved him anyway.
And Courtney did it because she's just a garbage ass person.
Yeah.
That scene where Sonny's pretty much just calling her a slut because it helps him read Nicholas better. It was amazing. He was just all like, you were out here cheating on Emily with my sister. You were banging my sister. He was like, that's how you talk about your sister. What do you want me to say? You made love?
Oh, that scene. Huh. That scene was of two scenes, two actors in a scene. Like I was like, this is some acting, as opposed to the Nicholas and Sonny scene that we got on Friday. I know.
No, Mo probably made fun of him in between takes. Like, hi, in my dressing room, I'm watching Beverly Hills Chihuahua, the first one, not the one with you.
Didn't see you in it because you were only in the second and third one. 2 and 3. Dos and Trish
out here sounding crazy too with his take care of my dad. But take care of our dad or take care of dad.
I have so much of a Sunny read. I'm like, you talk about Brando and Sasha's baby. What about the babies that you don't have? Because you've lost plenty.
Yours with Lily, yours with Sam, yours with Claudia, yours with Carly.
Did he even talk about Morgan?
He said Morgan, didn't he?
Okay.
He said Morgan.
He said Morgan, Jason, Brando and Sasha's baby, and his dad, Mike.
Oh, go take care of your ex-husband.
Shout out to Liesl, who knows that Jason's in hell. That, loved it.
Shout out to Jason being dead.
Oh.
And staying dead.
Staying dead.
Maybe it was Journey in game. We never knew.
I'm good with that.
Great.
I feel good about that.
So before we're in hot take territory, let's talk about, I said, what do we want to see more of / what is really working right now? Because I think a lot of times, like, I know I personally get negative, but like for y'all, what is working? We'll go Sandra, Tara, and then me.
I loved Sante. I thought Sante was so good this week. Of course, the axe throwing scene was, I definitely watched that several times. It definitely got me in my feelings, and it reminded me my deep attraction to both Dom and Kelly. I was like, listen, if Sante was like at the bar, and they sent me a drink and they were like, I've never really done anything like this before. With most people, I would be offended and be like, don't just assume that bisexuals want to have a threesome with you, blah, blah, blah. But with Sante, I'd be like, let's talk more. What did you have in mind? They just really did it for me this week, if you didn't know. And I needed to also step into my Dom thirst to channel Tanya. Dom with, or like, seeing Dante with Sam reminds me of like what I liked about Dante when he first came on, like the cocky charm and the bantering. Like, that's a really sweet spot for him. And like, after like the initial courtship of him and Lulu, that just kind of like went out the window, especially with Emmy as Lulu. And so I just really love seeing him in this dynamic with Sam. I love that it feels fresh, but it also feels like they have progressed in their relationship, like there's a comfortability between them. And they just sizzle even though they have zero story. And so I think their story is not necessarily working, but the actors really make it work. And I would really love, I do appreciate how now Sam is both in the Liz story and also in the Cassadine story. And Dante's kind of floating between the two as well. And so even though it's not necessarily explicitly about them, I'm happy to like see them in action together. Like even that small exchange when they were finishing interrogating Betsy, and Dante offers Betsy a ride, and Sam's like, stop it. Like, we are not giving this crazy bitch a ride. Like, what's wrong with you? It's just little things like that. You can tell that Dom and Kelly really love working together, and that just makes a huge difference. So I both love them specifically, but also like the idea of them, like a chemistry filled couple that goes on adventures together. And that is like also just such a bedrock of GH coupling. And we're not seeing enough of it right now.
Agree. What about you, Tara? What has worked for you?
I really, really like Anna Devane being in all the episodes she's been in this week. And the fact that when the episode counts came out, she was in 13 of the 20. That really works. Anytime Anna Devane and her story are front and center, that works. We need more of that, because I know that Sunny and Carly and Maxie randomly were the highest, but the fact that we're keeping Anna Devane in her like being center of this Cassadine story, first Peter August, and now the Cassadines. I want more Laura. But that storyline is really working better than any other storyline you have. But like going to the Sam thing, I also like that she's about to be in whatever the hell's happening with Drew and Carly, because she's gonna have fucking feelings about that, because Carly was cut off by Laura before she could say what happened when they were together at the Quartermain at the boathouse. And so I really like that people who like working together are going to be working together, since other people have made it very freaking clear that they don't want to work with certain people. And good luck with that. Good luck with that pairing. But yeah, I really, really want our vets front and center, because they have the best story, as they should.
Yeah, it's funny because I was gonna say Sante, then I was gonna say that other story, so I'll just do like a thing of both. Carly was not gonna tell Sam. Carly was relieved. They were interrupted. She was like, yeah, Drew's been such a good friend. They're like, okay, girl. All right, Caroline. And what I hope is that they don't make it like I hope that they like let Carly and Sam like work that out in a way that they didn't let them do around Charlie. I thought the Charlie kind of reveal was really dumb. there was no reason for me that Jason and Carly didn't sit down and tell Sam. Sam understands the business, she understands the mob, she understands all that shit. So like if they, I think it would have been a more appealing story if they would have set her down and talked to her and was like, this is business. And then she would have seen, oh no, this looks like more than business. That would have been, I think, interesting to me. But like the idea, which is why like some of it is like the relationship between Sam and Carly is weird now, where it's like, oh, y'all besties again. So anyway, she was not gonna tell her. But I'm glad now that we've moved on the other side of the Peter August storyline, the people who I like the most are like still front and center. And so we've lost Chalene, we've lost the baby swap, we've lost Maxie, and now we have and now we have Laura, we have Ava, we have Sam. And so like I loved all of the vets being a part of that, but I hated the story. And so now we're on the other side and we actually have a villain who is like worth it in Victor. And that wasn't, you know, like if Victor like circumvents them and like outsmarts them, that makes sense to me because like it's Victor. The reason the Peter August storyline was, I mean, one of the reasons the Peter August storyline was so annoying is because it was like this person who isn't like even worth his salt in like, you know, being a villain, it was like circumventing our faves who we were like, Peter's outsmarting Anna? Like, what the fuck? Like, come on. Or Peter's outsmarting Victor all this time and, you know, Jason can't shoot a gun at Peter. You know, it was just like all of these things that are like thrown away. And now we actually have like a formidable villain with like the people who I am most excited about seeing. And then with Sante, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, these are two people who enjoy working with each other and has really, I saw somebody say something like, you know, this is, I've seen Sam in love and this doesn't look like whatever. And I'm like, this is Sam being in grown-up love. Mm-hmm. This is Sam, 2 kids, finding her footing in her career, having fun, but also being an adult love. And like being with somebody who loves her without like some weird, I actually really loved Sam and Drew because I love Billy Miller, but that storyline was still weird that he was like Jason and not Jason, you know, like it still had like a Jason thing to it. Whereas to like Sante does not have that. Sante is like these 2 grown-ass people who are very attractive. We're like, you know what? Let's see what we can do here. And they did it. And it looks good. And they seem happy. And even though they don't have like a specific story that's about them, they are naturally being folded into all other stories. And so it means that I get to see them on screen. So I'm hoping that we see them on screen, we see them like be a part of all of this like drama together, have some cute moments. And then on the next phase of these storylines as they close out, for them to have a story. That's what I hope.
But not a Dick Worry story, because that's what worries me, is that they're going to get in this like quadrilateral Dick War with like Sam, Drew, and Dante, and then like Sam, Carly, and Drew, and then Lulu will randomly wake up, and then somehow she's fucking Drew, and like, you know, just like a weird pentagram. And like, if Carly fucks Dante, that would be funny just to stick it to Sunny. That's just my own personal thing. I just want that because fuck Sunny. But like that's all I'm saying is that's what worries me about Sante and their stories. Like I want them to have an actual story, not like we're fighting over somebody's dick story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think that Sante's story will be different. So, you know, I get Soap Opera Digest now, so I read the interviews. And so Cameron Matheson just being so Canadian and so kind. But like him saying that he likes Sante really to me was like, oh, okay. We're not, but I think that's because he knows that like Carly and Drew is going to be a thing because Jason's gone. So I am happy about the way things fell out. It was hard for me to invest in Sante because I thought they were going to try to bring Drew in. But now that that seems like not to be the case, I'm like fully in on another Sam ship.
Yeah. You know, I think folks have at least in that situation between like Cameron Matheson, Laura Wright, Dom, Kelly, folks have ended up where they wanted to end up. That's what I'll say about that.
So one of the things I did want to talk about, so I want to talk about like in general what's not working for y'all, but I wanted to like really go through a discussion of couples. So of couples who aren't working. So specifically Maxie and Austin, Curtis and Portia, and Finn and Liz.
Oh, you don't like those couples?
I feel like we collectively have mixed feelings about other couples, but I think that these are clearly not working. And so in Soap Opera Digest, they like specifically named that Maxie and Austin weren't working. I was like, damn. And then so people really loved the Portia and Drew scenes. And they were like, they have chemistry, you know, whatever. And Brooke was liking a lot of those tweets. And so there was one particular one that was like, yep, this kind of shows that DR, probably Donnell, is the problem in that pairing. And so I thought it was really interesting because there's no reason that the attractive couple of Curtis and Portia shouldn't be hitting, and they are certainly not hitting. Yeah, so I want to just like talk about like those couples and why do you think it's not working?
I, for the life of me, don't understand why they didn't put Curtis and Nina together. Not to throw Sona in there, but like there's a bunch of things that aren't working with Sona that have nothing to do with me being a salty Carson stan. But like Curtis has more energy with the character of Nina. He's very involved in her life. Like I never understood why that didn't just go into a romance. They don't invest in Curtis. That's the main thing. Like I'll use their ship name. I invest in Curtis by giving them a ship name more than the show invests in them. They just sort of like they gave them this past. They made that some type of drama. Like it's been 20 fucking years. Who cares? And then they broke him and Jordan up for the dumbest reason you could think of. And then they put them together, gave Jordan a secret, and then shipped her off. And then we didn't hear about them. It was like, okay, well, the Jordan problem is gone. So their problems are gone. And Curtis just running this club and she's the hostess. I guess now that like Jordan is back and potentially her memories will come with her, there'll be more drama, but like they literally do not care about that couple. They're just like their future dramas, but Hat Daddy is their problem now. Like what?
Right. And their problems are always about Curtis.
Yeah.
And so the story's not there for them, and it never has. It's been clearly like their couple is all about driving plot. And on top of that, that can be fine if you have chemistry, but they don't. And it's kind of wild to me. Every time I watch a scene with them, I try to be like, all right, maybe this will be the time that I feel something. Because these are two beautiful people, but they do not. I think out of actually the three couples that we're talking about, they have, I don't even want to say the most chemistry, but like they don't have anti-chemistry the way that I think Maxie and Austin and Finn and Liz do, to be quite honest. They're pretty neutral. But I think what's so disorienting about it is that they're so beautiful. They're both so beautiful. And I think in particular, we've seen Brooke Kerr have so much chemistry with literally everyone else she's in a scene with. Like whether it's friendship chemistry, romantic chemistry, sexual chemistry, like She just lights up and lights other people up, which also makes so much sense why her and Sydney playing mother and daughter also made so much sense, because they're both just such lights. So when they're together, it's like, anyway. So it to me, I don't know what's there. We could speculate about why it is that they don't have chemistry, but the more that the show tries to force it, like the more resistant I become about it, and the more I just really want Portia in particular. I don't care who Curtis ends up with, quite frankly, but I really want Portia in a different pairing. Like I really want her to have a storyline that's not just about Curtis.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons why I do wish this maternity storyline would just happen, because then at least like she gets point of view, she'll get drama, and then hopefully it'll also free her up to be in a different relationship and a different trajectory. So yeah, what happens with Curtis happens with Curtis.
Got his white women.
White women, sure, why not?
I think that, not only did I have chemistry, but they're also impossible to invest in because of The Secret.
Yes.
So why would I invest in a couple that has this thing that's clearly going to be, when the hammer drops, it's going to be unforgivable? If it was unforgivable for you to move past with Jordan, it certainly is going to be unforgivable for you to move past Paternity Secret. And it is also that when they broke them up, Curtis still had more chemistry with old Jordan than he did with, so like it just looked dumb. It was like, I don't understand why we're doing this, or it's so clearly like a plot thing that was unnecessary. Yeah, it's just, and so I mean, yeah, we can like definitely speculate on to why, but I just want them to free Portia from this pairing. I also like with the paternity thing, I don't understand how they're playing it. Like Portia should always look uncomfortable when Curtis brings up Trina, and she doesn't. Like he's like, oh, we're gonna have a house, it's gonna have room for Trina. She should be like, oh yeah, you and Trina. You know what I'm saying? Like there should be some point of view from her that's like, I have this huge secret about Trina's paternity. And I think we maybe have seen it like once or twice. It's just very, very bizarre. So it's like that, and let's also not forget they don't have chemistry.
I was also confused about why she was trying to be super buddy with Jordan coming back. I'm like, Jordan has info buried in her subconscious about you. You should want her nowhere near you or Curtis, especially because you were like, I think she still loves you. Okay, if she still loves you, then that's a really good way to get him back. Like, oh, by the way, if you thought I was a liar, let me inform you about Portia and her like fucking dirty lies. And so, like, the whole thing, they just don't invest. They don't care. They're just like, as much perspective, if we took like a third of the perspective they've given Carsona and gave it to like Portia and Curtis, it would make a world of difference. Yeah. Because I think they could have, like, they have nothing to like, there was no real stakes in their relationship. Like, Jordan was the only, like, him being married to Jordan is the only obstacle, and he's still married to her, so it's still the obstacle. Like this paternity, they could drop that tomorrow and be like, well, never mind, Jordan just never remembers, it doesn't matter. And then like whether or not Nina and Laura are okay and what Hat Daddy's doing is their story. And so I mean, currently I think they're giving sibling chemistry.
That would involve them looking like they like each other, and that does not look like it to me.
Yeah, they're like distant cousins. Very distant.
Look at this house. They lit up about the house, the fireplace.
The fireplace. It sounds really nice.
Yeah, the double-sided fireplace.
Yeah.
I would love it.
The Drew's description of the burners. You could tell Drew should be a real estate agent. That's the other energy that he gives.
Like
a game show about real estate.
There we go.
Sweet spot for Drew. Maxie and Austin. So let me just say this, because people, I feel like I don't know why people act like it's taboo to talk about age differences. I do not think that that's true. And Roger Howarth gives off dad energy to Kirsten Storms. I actually like them. It's not that they don't have like they are two people who seem like they actually enjoy being in scenes together. I buy them as people who would have some sort of bond. Maxie doesn't have to date everybody who delivers a baby of hers. It's absolutely fine for her not to date him. And it specifically is a problem because we've seen that he is better with Britt.
And Kelly's younger than Kirsten, so it's
no, she's like a year older.
She's older?
Kelly is like a year older, but it's just that Kristen, he does not give off dad energy with Kelly. He gives off dad energy with Kirsten Storms.
Yeah, I don't like Maxie and Austin. I did like Frizz. I wasn't one of those J-Sam stans who just could not forgive Franco. Like, I understood why they couldn't forgive him. And I was like, yeah, they're not going to be there, so deal with it. But I liked Frizz. I thought that Roger made it work with Becky. Like, he worshipped her. I really like when men worship women. And him worshiping her just hit correctly for me. It doesn't hit the same with Maxie, and it's mainly because I don't think she deserves it. I'm just like, Maxie's a terrible character. She's not a character you worship. She's a character you fix. She's a character whose like flaws you overlook because you love her. I put her there with like Carly and Ava, and like, these aren't the bitches you worship. They're the ones you scheme with. And so it's always a weird vibe every time she's like, Maxie, you're so strong and so honorable. I'm like, she's none of those things. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, let me show you some scenes from 2007. Like,
and it's not even, it's like, even if you take the history out of Maxie, it's not even true for like what's happening on the canvas right now. Like, Maxie's like, I think that there could be a scenario in which like Maxie being worshipped by the right person could make sense, but it's not Austin.
Spinelli work.
Huh?
Spinelli.
I would do Spixie again. I know that's controversial, but I've said that several times. Every time I say it, I'm like, I know it's controversial, but I would do Spixie again.
Worked because it was like he was worshiping physical attributes of women. And so it didn't really matter who he was talking about. Like, he always called like Harley the Valkyrie. He always called, Samantha goddess. It was always something to do with their physical attributes. He wasn't actually going down into character. Because he's a fucking shallow character.
That's true.
Shout out to the fact that Sam and Spinelli can be friends again now that Jason's dead.
Yikes. Anyway. I think that I think Maxie and Austin would make great in-laws when he gets together with Britt. The end. Yeah. What I am hopeful of, actually, like, people were talking about like, oh no, they're kissing, they're gonna get them together. Oh God, no. And I'm like, no, let's go ahead and get them together now so that they can break up. So that they can be the obstacle to whoever each of them will end up with, whether that's Spinelli for Maxie. I really actually don't care who Maxie ends up with at this point, because I'm like that done with her character. I hope to not feel that way someday, and I'm open to feeling otherwise. But I would like to see Austin paired with Britt, or really literally so many other people besides Maxie. It's just not working.
Yep. And speaking of not working, woo, Finn and Elizabeth.
What is Finn with his weirdo energy?
It ain't it.
Hamilton McBain. Hamilton McBain.
I love how we're all just kind of sitting here in like awkward silence because that's what this couple inspires in people. Because they are like the awkward silence couple. Like, you know, that they're like the dates that they do go on, they're just sitting there. It's not comfortable silence, it's awkward silence.
It's not good. It's just not good. And they act like they don't actually even like each other. I don't get it. Finn looks happier to see Sam.
It's true.
I'm sorry, Liz looks happier to see Sam.
Yes.
She sure does.
We have to force this like Liz Sam friendship because Michael Easton and Becky Hurst both like Kelly Monaco. So they're like, who can we bring in here that can get something out of y'all?
Becky had more chemistry with the actress playing Betsy.
Yes.
Than she did with Michael Easton.
She looks miserable with him. And it was such a flip because she looked so motherly and sweet when she was talking to Hudson.
Yes.
So it was like she went from looking like, please get this man out of my house to, hey, baby, how you doing? It was, I don't know what's happened between them. I don't know what's happened behind the scenes. Get these two people away from each other. I don't want to see it.
Well, it doesn't seem like a healthy thing for either one of them. I don't know what happened, but it's like, you could only imagine that when they call cut, they're just like, they both just leave the room.
Without even looking at each other. You know what I'm saying? Because like when they call cut on like Maxie and Austin, it's like, oh yeah, how was your weekend? I went to go play pickleball with like you know what I mean? Like there was like a familiarity there. I feel like there's like a strange like something with Portia and Curtis. Like when they call cut, there's like a very robotic like exchange where they're very cordial to each other. They might not fuck with each other, but they're like cordial. When Finn and Liz call cut, they walk away like they've never seen each other before. They're like, no. We don't like it. The difference between the way Michael Easton lights the fuck up when he's in a scene with Finola Hughes versus when that man is darker than a vampire when he has to be in a scene with Becky Hurst. I don't know what has happened there. Give Violet back. Let him hold Violet or something while he's talking to Liz so that he could at least seem human, because this is really awful.
You know what was really hard? It was really hard when Sante showed up at Liz's place. Because I was like, this contrast is very strange. Because this is what it looks like when people love each other or even just like each other. Like, I don't know if y'all were just trying to insert some chemistry into the scene, like anywhere. If we just bounce it around, they have so much chemistry that maybe it'll just shine on these other two. It didn't work.
And that's why they're about to bring Cameron Matheson into the story. Because he's going to have some game show energy with everybody.
This is Jen M. As Jen M said, I don't want to see Finn try to date this broken ass woman.
Oh no.
Like, because what he is going through, because like I feel like the writers in their mind, they're like, these are two people who are going through the loss of a long-term relationship and they're finding love in each other. No, this is a man who decided he didn't want to marry a spy because she was a spy, versus a woman whose husband was brutally murdered.
Yes.
They're not going through the same thing. He can get his fucking life and get back together with Anna tomorrow.
Well,
Franco's dead. I'm not saying that he could, like, because she would take him. I'm saying that is an option because she is alive.
Right.
And so in the realm of possibilities, it is an option for him to be like, let's engage a Fana versus Vanna triangle. And I would be here for every second of it. Like, yes, Finn, learn how to worship Anna Duvane correctly. take lessons from Valentine. But Franco's gone and Roger Howard's playing a different character. And we have to pretend like Jake's crusty drawing of Franco isn't looking exactly like Austin. And so
That is
you're not going through the same thing, Finn. You're not. And I don't need to see Finn talk to these two young men he's only met about 6 times. You have absolutely no right to question Jake. He's been at a sleepover for the past 7 months, so you don't know that kid. You've met him twice. Like, Hudson had the correct energy in this scene. This whole like, who the fuck are you energy.
When Liz was like, I don't like you interrogating my boys, I was like, this is the most I've ever agreed with Liz. This is right. This is the correct energy to bring to him. What are you doing, Finn?
Liz is like, I climbed up 15 flights of stairs to make this child. You better not talk to my child this way.
Step back on
And
the liaison, baby, okay?
Gaslighting her. Then all of a sudden, Finn starts gaslighting her. Like, you think I'm accusing your boys? You've been accusing her sons for the past 2 months. So yeah, I think you're accusing my sons. Now it's like, you brought it up, Liz. Unless they're gonna like gaslight us and make it seem like that's what's been happening. Like we've been looking through crazy Elizabeth sides the entire time, and now we're gonna get context. But also, I don't expect Chris and Dan to do anything as interesting as that.
No.
It's also just like, I mean, I talk about this all the time to Sandra, to anybody who listen. It is because men run this shit. And so they think that things that are like not romantic they don't think about like the nuances. They don't like, that's why they do something like push Carly and Sam together when we've had no resolution over the Jason shit. Because they're like, whatever, it's fine. Like they have there's just like no relationship building. There's no like, that's why I was like, oh, I would love for like Stella and Phyllis to have like coffee once a week. And like for us to hear them, because like the point of view of other people in the town about what's happening is like really important. And we don't get that. So like, who was it that said, I think Drew said, or not Drew, Curtis was like, oh yeah, everybody's talking about Carly and Sonny. Let's see it. Let's see people like have that conversation and then flip into whatever their story is. We don't have any relationship building. We don't have, and so like when you see something like Finn and Liz, they're like, oh, this is like the damsel in distress, like needing this man, which is like really difficult to watch when the other major story is Anna kicking ass, which is Felicia kicking ass, which is like Sam being a PI and being side by side with her man, not being saved by him. And so like see how popular these couples are and these characters are and these stories are, like it's really difficult for me to understand why they thought we would want to see, to Jen's point, like a broken Liz being rescued by a man. I don't want to see that shit. I want to see DID. Give it to me.
Well, what I really hope is that they're just setting up Finn to be like stupidly wrong. I want him to feel humiliated about how wrong he is. Because, okay, why is Jake drawing a picture of his dead stepfather proof that he's a stalker?
Yeah, I'm done with that.
This kid has been in art therapy like most of his life. That was the way that he like healed from the brainwashing stuff and from when he was kidnapped and presumed dead. That was like how him and Franco built their relationship. That seems like actually a really healthy way for him to process his feelings. So why are we stigmatizing it and pretending that him showing any kind of grief or discomfort about the way that people are moving on or not from Franco's death impact him? Like it just doesn't make any sense. And maybe also just him not fucking with Finn is just like, hello, he's a teenager. Why should he fuck with you? You suck. You're boring.
You're boring. You come over my house in these fucking vests and like You used to fuck my aunt. Like, and y'all had a baby. And now my mom hasn't even been gone. Like, Franco hasn't even been gone for a year.
And my mom doesn't have any chemistry with you.
Sure doesn't.
You make my mom look awful. My mom doesn't even use conditioner anymore because she's with you.
Becky's ends, so
Yeah.
them ends.
And it's not her fault. It's in the same ways that I don't understand why they would dress Maxie and BLQ in the ways that they do. Her hair has not looked good. And we see that Jenny Francis and Finola Hughes go get their blowouts together, and whatever like products they're using, they're like, so you look very moisturized. What are you using? Like, it is on like the costume department and the makeup and the hair folks to make people look good on camera. And so if that is not part of the story, if like that, you know what I'm saying? If that's not part of the story, then they need to do better.
I noticed Nicholas Chavez's eyebrows were very disheveled for his prison stay. I was like, oh yeah, Spencer can't be doing his eyebrows in prison. You don't have time.
No.
We know he does his eyebrows.
Oh yes. He has beautiful, lush eyebrows that need, lots of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Before we couple,
Conditioner is expensive.
yeah, it is.
So are Cam's books. So
I was gonna say before we leave couples that like this couple, like I said, I'm not gonna be like a salty Carson fan and say they don't have chemistry. They have chemistry. Sona is what happens when the writers have decided they hate your couple. That like the actor is confused and needs to be told in the script that they are the bad guys. Because the dialogue for Sunny and Nina for the past since 2022 began has been fucking atrocious. It has been atrocious. I'm sorry, there's no way. And I have muted a lot of people, so that could be it. But I have seen less and less defense for Sona because that dialogue is garbage. You had like, first of all, Nina just ran up on Drew. That's what happened. Nina ran up on Drew. He was there to get coffee, and then she decided she wanted to talk shit about Carly. He wasn't here for it. Then she's like trying to do the same thing with Curtis and freaking Stella, but Curtis is so self-centered. He was like, no, we're gonna talk about Hat Daddy. So then she had to run to Britt, who was also like, I don't have time for this. You sound like a crazy bitch. Like, did you fuck him because his marriage was over, or is it not over and you're upset that Carly ran this divorce through? Because I'm confused. Like, what do you mean? And so, like, just the way they're writing versus like Sunny, who's like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I tried to fight for my marriage and Carly left. Like, conveniently leaving parts out. I like how she tried to conveniently leave out the part that she banged Sunny to Britt. But unfortunately, Britt hangs out with Carly. And so she already knew. Try to do a Willow, just leave that part out. Like, Carly's just insane. I did nothing wrong. It's very irritating. It's just very irritating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let them be in love. Just let him be mature and choose Nina and let Carly feel how she's going to feel and let them go off and live in the penthouse and be in love. But what they're doing, they've clearly decided that Carly is the winner of this. She's the good guy. She's getting the house. She's getting all the visitations she wants. And we get to see her go axe throwing while Nina runs across town crying.
Where's Avery?
Where is Avery? Is she at Cassadine? Is she at Windermere? Or, I mean, maybe Carly got Sunny's visitation since he doesn't want Donna.
I don't think that's what it is. I have notes. I was like, Tara's gonna be on, and I know that my Nina hate is just gonna flare the fuck up. Because the reality is, I've not liked Nina since she was Michelle Stafford. Like, I've never liked Nina. I've always thought she was like a trash character. And I appreciated Michelle's take on her because she, like, it was just like, oh yeah, she's a mess. And so I never liked her, but I could kind of enjoy a little bit of her time on screen because it was clear who she was. And then when Cynthia took over, they tried to make her, I think, more like rootable. They tried to make her like more complicated. And so that worked for a little bit. But the Nixon Falls shit just didn't work. And you cannot, like, the only reason Nixon Falls worked is because people don't fuck with Carly. And that's not like a accusal, like, that is right. Like, if you don't fuck with a character and you see them like getting their comeuppance, like, you should be happy to see it. So this is not me saying like that people shouldn't or you know, whatever. This is me being like, yeah, you don't like Carly. I understand why. And you saw her getting fucked over, so you was like, hell yeah, I like this. I liked couples for the same thing, not an accusal. So you can't build a couple like that or a relationship like that. You didn't give them anything to root for. The entire time they were in Nixon Falls, that shit was stupid. Oh, thanks Nina and Sunny for taking down a black gentrifier. You saved us. Thank you. And everything that she did was wild. It was like 6 months of watching wild shit. And so you expect 6 months of wild shit worth of fallout. And I just don't, I think they have been confused with what to do with her character. So this is before she knew about Sunny. Her first time visiting Wiley, she said that wild shit about Nell and Willow. What is happening, girl? What are you doing? So like it is not like they actually have lots of reasons to not want you around Wiley. Like your behavior has been wild, and because there's been no point of view from anybody but like Carly and her very, very close inner circle to say that this was fucked up, she has just been allowed to run, which has made even people who thought that Nina and Sunny had chemistry be like, okay, but are we gonna name how fucked up this is? Because that's what happens on soaps. So they didn't. Like the conversation that she had with Britt was really important and would have changed and turned around that story if it would have happened months ago. If we would have had perspective from people, Nina has literally lost nothing. The only relationship she's lost is Wiley. Phyllis is still your BFF, your Black Oracle. Like she's still that for you, even though you had like your lies had the bar she built with her dead husband burnt down. No fallout there. You've had the same friends, you got the same job. There was no fallout in your job where people were like, huh, what you did was really crazy. I wonder if you should still be able to run your business. There was literally no fallout. You've done nothing but lose Wiley and gain a man. And now you're like going around telling everybody how awful Carly is when you were the mistress. How do you pretend like you are the victim when you are the mistress? And so I guess it's like setting up like the showdown between them, but in all of the setup, you're making Nina look really, really bad without doing the same thing to Carly. So by the time that you're ready to make Carly look bad or make Carly the villain or make her be Carly, you've already lost so much of the audience who either likes Carly or is very Carly neutral. Because the only way that you could really enjoy the storyline is if you hate Carly, and that's not like the majority of the audience. And so it's just bad. Like, yeah, it's just bad. And I am confused as to why they've chosen to go this direction, because they had a spark with Sona. People were like, if it wouldn't have been written this way, I think more people would be bought in. Because Mo and Cynthia do have chemistry.
Yeah. I wanted him to be torn about the business. I wanted Carly to go after it. I've said this a couple times. I think if they hadn't wrote Carly to be like, well, Sunny doesn't want me to do anything, and just sort of disregard Sunny and be like, fuck him, I'm gonna do what I want. At least Sunny could have gone against her and been like, I told you that this is not what I wanted. and like I told you, and like that would have brought Nina and Sonny together. Having them like just lie and him lie to her face after she's like bending over backwards and like going against her own instincts to go after this woman just made him look even worse. Especially the line where I think it was last week, like, no, it was 2 weeks ago, once he got caught and she was like, I'm done. I am done. And he was like, well, I'm going to give you some time. Now you're going to give her time? She's been asking for nothing but time. And now that you banged Nina on a dock ship, now you got time for her? Now you can give her some time, like, to get over that? No, like, it's done. Like, he just looks so bad. She looks bad in comparison. She keeps saying she feels bad, but then doing other things. Like, it's just written so poorly. The chemistry, everything for this to sort of take off. And like, I was prepared to be in my Carly feels. I was prepared to be like, look what they're doing to my girl. Look at her. She's just in a corner by herself, trying to figure out her life and how this happened. No, she's out here with her girls. She's got Drew over here in the wings. She's throwing axes. And like, you got Nina running around town. Just anyone who will listen. And it's not even cute. Make her.
Got her cute divorced girl haircut.
For real. Like, make Nina a villain and not a victim, for the love of God. But see, they can't because Maurice Renard will not allow his character to be bamboozled. He has to be somewhat in control. Like, this has to be Sonny's decision, and this has to be Sonny doing this. And like, Sonny's not even changing. Like, he's only changing women. It's not like he's still head of the mob. He seems to have absolutely no problem with the mob. Like, let's fucking murder everyone. Like, what changed? Like, what happened between Mike when Nixon falls with the change besides Nina?
He has a cowboy hat now.
Carly got
probably still in the closet at Carly's house.
Mm-hmm.
Carly's house
upstairs.
now. But it is
ours now.
I love Sandra's face, who cares nothing about this story. It's amazing to me.
What I will say, as someone who doesn't care about this story and who has hated Sonny ever since forever, I am fine with it because Sonny doesn't change. Sonny is the same fucking trash piece of fucking shit that he always has been. And I love that Maurice thought that this was a good direction for his character and that he's being proved wrong again and again. And this is an example of why, you know, sometimes it's not always the greatest idea to have the actors make decisions about the directions of their storylines, especially if those actors are not writers. I think it's one thing when actors have really great insight into their characters and like really, really also understand the difference between themselves and the choices that they would make and their characters, and they don't have ego invested in what their characters do or say, what have you. You know, like Deidre Hall is like, they give me my script, I do the thing. If they told me to do it, if they wrote my character this way, it's in character. I don't think you have to do that exclusively. You can, of course, advocate for yourself, but the way that Maurice talks about Sonny, there's no difference between the two of them. Like, he'll differentiate, like, I don't like this darkness, I don't like whatever. Well, the way that he's talked about this storyline, he defends everything Sonny does. And so the fact that it's tanking, I love. That's all.
I love. It's also it's tanking, and it just does not make anybody look good. So let me talk about Sonny Corinthos for a second. And I really wasn't even going to talk about him until that scene with Marcus at the cemetery. I was like, this was written in a container that felt like y'all don't watch the rest of this show. Like, you're talking about affairs? Sonny, you're going through a divorce. Your wife just came to your penthouse to see you having cheese eggs on the floor with your mistress.
The cheese eggs. They didn't even have cheese.
They didn't even have cheese. It was just regular eggs that she was breathless over. Like, it was wild. And so I just forgot what I was going to say. Those dimples, like, girl, grow up. And so, like, you talking about like what he's done for Spencer. What have you done for Spencer? Spencer is getting deeper and deeper and deeper in with the Cassadines, with Victor, who continues to do for him. And you were acting like it's unforgivable that Spencer gave Avery that bear. Avery liked that bear, by the way. She liked it. It was a fun toy. It was a gift. Avery was fine. Like, you're acting like that is unforgivable. It's not unforgivable what Nina did to you and your family. So not unforgivable that you like banged her on a dock ship. And then you got the audacity to talk to Marcus about what he's doing with his kids, as if, Sonny, your decisions haven't been fucked up with your kids. I'm sorry, y'all continue to talk about Morgan's death being Ava's fault. Sorry, Sonny, Morgan's death was your fault because you're mob shit. Michael got shot in the head, and that personality is that personality because he was shot in the head because of you. Like, Christina got traumatized at her mama wedding because of you. You continue to make decisions that are awful for your children. And then you have the audacity to talk about what somebody else is doing. One of the best, most rootable, redeemable relationships Sonny had was the one with Spencer. And now you don't even have that. And every time they need to redeem Sonny, they're pulling out Ghost and they're pulling out Laura and Anna. Free my girls from having to redeem this man. He is irredeemable. And they continue to like prove that he is and have him do bullshit, but then try to make him like a character who's better. One of the things that was dropped was Dev. Dev was a plot device to redeem Sonny Corinthos. That Sonny went to Turkey to get Dante and met this poor street kid who he then had his whole family lie for, who was then killed partway because of Sonny. And now we don't talk about him at all.
He didn't ask.
Don't even pretend to talk about him. Brando is out here with pilled out Sasha. And y'all haven't even mentioned that he treated and built a relationship with Dev as if Dev was his kid. And y'all didn't even pretend at the hospital like, oh shit, we should say this is the second kid Brando lost. You just literally nothing. So he was literally a plot device to redeem Sonny or to humanize Sonny while Sonny doesn't have to change any behavior. He just continues to be trash, and that's fine with everyone. And so now you're in the middle of this divorce. You done banged somebody. You done cheated on your wife. You done help Brad get out of jail. You done did all this stuff. You done talk all about loyalty. And so now you're about to have this custody fight and be on the other side of Michael. And I actually hope Michael doesn't fuck with you, because Michael should have never forgave you for killing AJ. The only time Michael's interesting is when he's at odds with his parents. And so I'm hopeful that he's at odds with Sonny for a little bit. Everybody thought and I was confused because everybody thought the storyline was going to be, oh, Carly's miserable. Carly's by herself because she don't have Jason. And I was like, out of one side of your mouth, you're saying that Laura Wright and Carly is like a pet of Frank and of GH. And on the other side of your mouth, you think they're going to let their pet be lonely? I knew this was going to happen. This is why I never shipped Carson, but I containment shipped it. Because I was like, when they break up, the whole canvas is going to be about this. And here we are. And now I got to see more Nina whispering every day.
What I do appreciate, though, is that it actually hasn't been all about them. Timing wise, like lately, the divide has been actually pretty relatively even. We did get more of them this week than were in the spoilers, but that always happens. But I do actually appreciate that they have been back. That whole storyline just gets Like we're seeing more consistent, like one storyline being the A, the other storyline being this B, and then the C, and seeing that switch out every like week and a half or so. And so what I will say is I am appreciating, even though it hasn't meant less Carly relative. It's like I still think Carly's getting the front seat in that coupling, but I was really afraid that we were going to get like them the same amount separate from each other. And I'm happy to see that that's actually not happening.
True.
And I just want to get back to the Sunny and Nicholas piece before I think we should move forward, because I'm tired of talking about Sunny, to be transparent. What was hard for me in that scene is that I hate both of them so much. So like Sunny would say shit and I'd be like, what the fuck do you have to say about anything, Sunny? But then Nicholas would say shit and I'd be like, who has bigger little bitch energy than this motherfucker? I can't even call you Nicholas anymore. You're just Marcus. So if I say Nicholas from here on out, know that I'm talking about Nicholas Chavez and not Nicholas Cassadine, because he does not exist on the campus. But like, what else is there to say about Marcus, really? That's really what I had to say about that scene, was just like, it just straight up didn't work because it was so historically inaccurate for the show. The dynamic between Nicholas and Sunny is nowhere near as compelling as it was when Tyler was around, because Marcus can't hold his own. And the dynamic between Nicholas Cassadine and Sunny Corinthos was always like a pretty even back and forth. Like sometimes one of them would end up out on top coming out, and sometimes it was the other. We could always count on it being like actually a clash of titans. And that's not what this is. This is just like Sunny dunking on Marcus over and over and over again. And it's not even enjoyable because I don't fucking like Sunny, and half the stuff that he's saying is just complete nonsense, which also distracts for his dialogue as of late.
I mean, since when does fucking Sunny care about Courtney? That was the real mystery. Like, none of these people have thought about this woman since she died. I won't believe it. I don't believe it.
Well, Jackson Carly thought about her when they stole her baby, but
yeah.
But go back and watch Tyler Christopher at Courtney's funeral.
Loved it.
So good.
Just let's move to other free for all hot takes before we move to your predictions.
My predictions. Oh Lord. So let's talk about the Chad and Josh reunion. So first of all, yay, loved Chase yelling at Michael. A+, great job. Hated that they were Bible bros again by the end. It really, like, for me, when I was watching it actually cut out on my live TV. And so I missed the whole part where he was yelling and all of a sudden they were just Bible bros again. And I was like, what? And so when I went back to watch the yelling, I was like, this was good, but it all feels undermined by the fact that y'all are just friends again. And what I will say is the chemistry between Chad and Josh is undeniable. It's undeniable. So I hate Michael. I don't really want them to be friends, but at the same time, they're just better together. Like, I thought like a lot of what made Josh's performance so good was that him and Chad actually have a really good relationship off screen. and they have really great chemistry together. So like part of why I was like, I'm feeling that Chase was like, it was Michael in the scene with him. So that's a very unpopular opinion, but what it does support is everyone's favorite crack ship, Michael or Mace, however, you choose to refer to them.
Michael forever.
I'm a Mace stan, but I mean, I think that not making Michael Corinthos the third gay was a huge mistake.
Absolutely.
To be honest. I would have loved to, like, even if they had just done it in the last few years and you just realized it, because I would have loved to see, like, as much as I love Ryan Carney and I wanted more Lucas, I would have loved to see him fall in love with Brad. And Brad and Michael try and raise Wiley. I said it. I am not taking it back.
I love it. It's so messy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Give
problematic.
it to me. I need it.
That's on and we've seen that actually like Michael had the best chemistry with Nell of the women that he's been paired with. So he does need a little bit of that bad energy. That schemer. He does well with a schemer. I like that.
Like, I really wanted it.
Okay, crack ship.
Love it. Love it.
Reichel is my crack ship.
Reichel. Beautiful. Beautiful. Love it. Valentine. The disrespect. So not only did he not get to see or be a part of Peter dying, which that's fine. Like scheduling is what it is. And I would rather it have been, these women slaughtering Peter. Excellent. But the fact that he is gone because he has an infection from being thrown in the garbage just really hurts me. The reason we don't have Valentine is because he has a garbage infection. It's too much for me. It's too much. It's too much in these harrowing times to know that this is the reason why he's not getting it in with Anna.
Yeah.
He got cat food in his gunshot wound.
It's so, the reasons we just send people. Also, why is medical treatment so bad in Port Charles that people have to be sent away to like camp kidney, camp coma, camp garbage infection? What's going on here, people? It's been hard for me, especially like knowing that we're going through transition with Sprina, and then we don't have Vanna because Valentina's garbage infection. I can't stop saying garbage infection.
I wish I had thought of it. I thought of sex portrait and I was very proud of it, but garbage infection. I mean, besides that, mine is probably that Sasha has to take full-on drugs to have chemistry with Brando. That's so sad.
And that's actually not true. Brando and Sasha actually do have chemistry. It's just that the show has been so disrespectful to them as a couple. They should actually be, okay, no disrespect to my Chilean friends, but that should be Sasha and Brando. They should be like the young, flirty, fun couple. And there's so much natural tension between Sasha and Brando. They didn't need to do Dead Baby. They could have done anything else, to be honest. But they could have, he's a mechanic and she's like this like really famous, like whatever. And like you saw at the hospital where that person like ran up on her, that could be that. Like he could be jealous of the male attention she gets. And like, like there's so much they could have done with them that wasn't Dead Baby that still kept them flirty and fun, and not like, I have to take pills to like be in the same room with you and suggest marrying you. And I don't know you well enough to know that you are like fucking drugged out. Really unfortunate for these two actors who I think both have really amazing chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, I found myself wondering, I was like going through my 20s being like, did I ever take anything that made me want to get married to someone? Like, I don't think so. I was like, is it this? Could have been that? Like, I may be under the right circumstances, but that feels like a stretch.
Why is she a pillhead now all of a sudden? I thought her thing was coke. Like her drug dealer said, bitch, you get what you get.
It's the gateway. It's the gateway. You know, I could see the pills are much more discreet, but here's the thing. This is how you know Sasha is an amateur drug user. I'm just like, you don't leave drugs in the drug bag that you got from your dealer.
Yeah.
You put them like in a nice little pill box. You could even put them in an old prescription. That's one of my favorites personally. But like, you can't just be like, if you're trying to be discreet, like be leaving things in the bag that your dealer gave them to you. Come on, Sasha, amateur hour.
They are such a sad couple. They have, you know what, I don't like their chemistry because it's all weird, like baby chemistry. Like they were not really they had their little flirty moments, but she was a crackhead. And then she got clean, and then she immediately got pregnant. And then it was all like, let's plan for this baby. We love each other. We're gonna move in. And then like Gladys was their obstacle. Like it wasn't crack anymore. It wasn't this baby. It was Gladys. And then they just killed the baby and kind of disappeared Gladys. I haven't seen that hoe in a minute. And so like now, like they're like, well, I guess we're gonna make Sasha a crackhead. That'll be the obstacle.
But with no Cyrus.
I did for a second. I liked her sister. I was like, oh, I like her sister. And then when Sophia came back, I was like, no, I like Sophia. I like Sophia. So I'm glad Sophia's back so I can remember that I do enjoy her in the role of Sasha. Because I did, but it's a testament to her sister because I did like her sister.
Yeah, her
sister was like, oh, okay, business. I think she does business Sasha better. Like she's got a very business type voice. I believed everything she said, where Sasha's like, hey, everyone, I used to be a con artist. Like,
is that what it's
like? My boyfriend bought me this company.
You know, I really loved for pre-pregnant, or I guess it was the inciting incident that created the pregnancy, but I loved their Titanic pandemic sex.
Not inciting incident.
It was the inciting incident.
I learned this scene that they had sex in a random person's car, and now I feel bad for that person. Whose car was that? Do not have sex in my
car. So who had that car?
Please don't have sex in my car at Jiffy Lube or wherever. Like, that's not cute.
I personally wouldn't mind if Brasha wanted to have sex in my car.
Just make sure you clean it.
Just like you do a little wipe afterwards. Do a little leather wipe.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we're cool. Now, a different couple?
Like Milo? Ugh.
No.
I'm so mad at that.
If I found out Sona had sex in my car, Andy Corinthos will have to reimburse me for everything. And I want some coffee. Give it to me. Everything. Fuck you.
Need therapy as well.
All right. Sorry. More hot takes. Do you have more, Sandra?
I think that's it for me. Those were my I loved all the act scenes, first of all. Loved them all. But I really loved the Anna and Liesl scene. Especially because it was just like, oh, Liesl's like got it bad for Anna. And it's such a it was so interesting. I was like, you know what, let Kathleen Gaddy make whatever acting choices she wants to make, because this is unexpected but extremely relatable. Who can't relate to having like a gigantic crush on Anna Devane? And like, it's not just me being you know how I am with all the mature women on GH, which there's a reason why I like this genre. But and you know, like, I've never seen so many straight women have a crush on a woman before. It's Anna Devane for everyone. Everyone's sexuality is Anna Devane. So it tracked for me. I loved it. It felt the most realistic, grounded portrayal of Liesl I've ever seen.
Liesl's gonna show up to Anna's house in a Duke mask.
Not the mask. I will also say when Liesl told Anna that she was in love with Scott, Anna was like, it was just perfect. Like the amount of like recovery from your disgust to go to shock to be like, all right. It's just, it was like just the most Anna Devane, if you like it, I love it, like situation. And I was just like, Anna, ugh, you got this. What do I have that I haven't already said? Oh, I love seeing Olivia and Sam together. It was just really cute. And there was like a moment, and this is what we talk about with like actors who like have really good instincts and like each other. There was like a moment when they were in the Metro Court where like Sam wiped Carly's eyes. It was just like such a really sweet touch that could only happen with people. And this is like just such a reason why I love the soap genre, that people have been in a relationship with each other for like 20 plus years and are still like killing it, looking great. Like it's just it was so good. And I just love seeing Olivia and Sam together. Also, Olivia, just what else is there to say? Oh, Chase was not Weezy's dad long enough for me to care about his feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking? Like, Brooklyn, I don't feel bad for her, but I get it. You know what I mean? Like, you raised a child from a baby, you know, whatever. Chase, you was there for like 2 weeks. Chill out, bro. I'm not having it. What the fuck is a jazz consultant?
Jazz concierge.
Because you know that booming jazz industry requires its own concierge in Port Charles. Jazz.
This is what happens when you can't think of a plot device to get Hat Daddy working for Aurora.
We just really need someone to just like stand in the office and scat.
Good night. I said something about the hospital scene where I loved it. Oh, Finn was doing his most Silas McBain shit ever, and I was over it. I did not care. I have never felt this way about Michael Easton, and I hate it. I hate it.
Him in between Elizabeth and Betsy, like while they're having this whole moment about Franco, and he's just like standing there. I was like, "Get out of here, Finn! What are you doing? This is
Yeah,
your
shot.
You don't need to be here."
I'm like, ugh.
It's because they're sitting on his bed. So he feels an attachment to it since that's where he sleeps now.
But it's like, so the kids don't know you, but you be sleeping on the couch? Idiot. Get out of here. I love that Sam still does not fuck with Franco or his mama. His mama was like, "You're married to the man who didn't like Bobby." Sam was like, he was dead, and I'm not gonna say I ever fucked with your son. Fuck him. And it's the energy I require. Them making New Jordan say that Jason was a remarkable person. Ugh. Blah. Yuck. Yep. When Nicholas was like, Ava's Avery's mom, that's the first time I've ever seen Nicholas give a fuck about Avery. But okay. And then I was just like I was so annoyed with Joss. Like, her, like, I hate a steamrolling ass friend. I really, really do. I it was just really bad. I was like, her, like, again telling Trina's business in front of Cam, and then not being like, oops, my bad, I shouldn't have said that to him. She was like, well, he loves you too. Joss was out here apologizing like a white man.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm sorry if you were offended type vibes. But then it was like also really weird in a sunny way of not giving Trina space. When Trina was like, I just need a moment. And then Joss was like, look, I can't lose my friendship with Trina. I gotta go find her. Like, she was gonna like skip school because she was so upset that Trina wasn't fucking with her. And so it was like both this like confirmation for me of like how much Joss cares about Trina, but how she just is a bad friend regardless. And that actually, and it, you know, like it just like teleported me back to being like 19, where that is sometimes the case, where you do actually care about somebody, but like you just do not know how to be a good friend because you don't have the maturity. And that's what was happening. I was like, Joss, get your shit together. What is wrong with you?
When she was like talking about her strategy, she was like, well, you know, my mom taught me that you can't just ignore a bully. You know, it's like a shark, you gotta punch him in the nose. You know,
Girl, your mama is the bully. Stop it.
like that's the thing. I'm just like, what bully are you talking about with your mom? Listen, there are things. I'm a Carly neutral person, you know, like sometimes I'm just like, that's right, bitch. You make that chaos. You do your thing. You be trash. I love it. And sometimes I'm just like, get this bitch out of my face. And that's great. This is how I watch soap operas. You know, I'm mostly neutral on most characters. But honey, this is not the person to be getting interpersonal advice from. It's just not. And this is actually the kind of shit that consistently blows up in Carly's face. Because what she does is she gives her opponent too much ammunition. She gives her opponent too much information about her. She gives her plans away all the time. And that's exactly what Joss is doing. She just gives Esme more ammo. Now, is Esme gonna do whatever Esme is gonna do? Yes, because she's psychotic. Like literally. But that was not the way it was how proud she was of herself that killed me. She's like, I knew, you know, I and then like Kim was like, isn't it bop them on the nose? And she's like, not the way I do it. Well, I'm about to do it to you, girl. If you keep telling Trina's business all over the place.
Trina was over it. She was like, "In what part of keeping the confidence? Don't your dumb ass understand?" I loved it. Like Trina was over it with her, and then I appreciated fucking Xander's kid in class being like, Joss was like, "Do you think that I was right or she was right?" And he was like, "Well, how about nobody? Because I'm not." Like it was just like peak Xander's kid. Like, all right, whatever, get out of here.
Also, Cameron wasn't trying to leave because he be paying like all the money to go to that class, unlike Jocelyn, who's got like several people paying her tuition. So he was like, let me finish class.
Cameron was like, I don't know if you know this about my family, but we're poor and we pay a lot for this school. I'm going to be in class.
So just like your family is known for being bullies, my family is known for being poor. And I'm sticking to my characterization. Thank you.
My mom can't even afford conditioner.
She used her conditioner money on my books. And so therefore, I'm going to respect it.
Books are expensive.
They really are.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I remembered something I had about Sprina. Their last words to each other were, I'll see you in 30 days. Not if I see you first. Trina saw him first.
That did happen.
When I realized that, this was me. Oh, God. That's it.
Okay. Congratulations. It sorry. Oh, I'm gonna listen to Boys to Men on Sydney's last day. So hard to say goodbye.
I was in the video.
When Spencer said, I get all my friends thank you gifts, I was like, my child is a fuckboy. Like, how did this happen? But also, I know
That's how I know he's my child. Because I too am kind of a fuckboy.
Like, it was just, I loved it. Yeah, that's all I got. Those are my hot takes. Sandra, you want to lead us through predictions / wild speculation?
Oh Lord. You know, this is hard. This is hard because being future oriented also means I'm like really thinking about a certain someone who's going to be leaving the show. So I want to try to get myself together for this. So one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is that this week is going to be a really teen heavy week. Most like I kind of like to divide this, spoilers up by storyline category, just to kind of get like a zoomed out look at the week. And they're really like the most of the spoilers for the week. So it's going to be the teen show in a lot of ways. But we also have the Cassadines storyline continuing, and then more of Elizabeth mystery, plus like, I guess Brasha is going to be getting married. Who knew? And then we'll get like a little bit, of course, we can't go a week without some Carsona stuff, but it won't be the primary storyline and all of that. With the teens, it's been interesting thinking about the future, knowing what we know now, right? That Sydney's last day is the 17th. So this is her last full week as Trina. So the 17th is a Thursday. And I'm not quite to the place, I can't really think about new Sprina yet or new Trina necessarily, but I am curious about how they might provide a little bit of closure for this version of Sprina and this version of Trina. Because, a lot of when we think about successful recasts, a lot of it has to do with where we left off with the previous actor and how the writers set up the transition to both like feel like there's continuity between the previous interpretation of the character and the new one, but also to give space for the new interpretation to be its own thing. So I'm not really ready to go all the way there yet. We'll probably talk about that more in a couple weeks. But it is something that I've been thinking about in terms of thinking about what's possible for the coming week. So we have Trina. We left off with Trina and Spencer seeing each other at Courtney's grave. I'm assuming that's what the Trina is shocked by what she sees spoiler was about. That is supposed to happen for Monday. But we also know that the Cam and Joss sex clip was projected with the Chromecast or whatever. First of all, we didn't talk about this in hot takes, but fuck that dude.
Fuck that
dude. That dude better get in trouble too. Because that was not, I just thought it was gonna like show up because of whatever, like that Esme was gonna project it. But it's just that little bitch. Fuck that dude. Anyway. So Trina is shocked by what she sees. Cam and Joss find themselves the objects of unwanted attention Monday. We also know because Eden did she did an interview with Soap Opera Digest about the storyline. So we know a little bit about what happens, right? That we saw in the preview, Cameron is like, did you think I did this? It kind of like makes us think like, oh, does Joss accuse him? And what we actually know from the Soap Opera Digest article was that she doesn't think that it could be Cameron until he brings up, you don't think it was me, did you? So I know there was a spoiler drop that happened around that, or like last week. And I just thought it was interesting how that was framed. They had framed it like Joss suspects Cameron first and then changes her mind, but that's not actually what happened. Like, that's not how it was discussed in the interview. So, you know, just to show that there's always point of view also from who you're getting your spoilers from. That's what I'll say about that. And so I think that was interesting because there's so much discussion on the timeline, like, how could Joss think that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, she didn't, first off, but also like, there's something about this sex tape storyline that like, you would be kind of wild if you didn't at least for a second suspect your partner, especially your male partner. Sorry, but that's just like how these things go down. But we know that they actually pivot pretty quickly to Esme. And so a lot of the fallout this week will be them confronting her and then her turning the blame on Trina.
So do you mean that Trina shouldn't be friends with Esme?
You know, I'm trying to be balanced about this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say fuck now. Never, ever,
I
ever.
thought that Laura's conversation with her like might have made her feel different, you know, might have made Esme a little softer.
Sure. That's never anything that I've seen in the text or the subtext, but you know, people see what they want to see.
Also, I forgot that sometimes people listen to us on audio, so I need you to know that I'm being very, very facetious right now. I don't want anybody to think I was being for real. I was actually being very shady to people who suggested that Trina should be friends with Esme. And I want to make that very clear.
Yes, thank you for making explicit the implicit. Always appreciate that. So that's how that storyline is supposed to play out, I think, early in the week. I'm assuming it's going to be Monday and Tuesday. And then we have Sprina, which was the unspoiled Sprina, for Monday. And I'm just curious to see like where they leave Sprina. Like, is this going to be their last set of scenes together? Will it be closer? Will they have another set of scenes together next week? But what I would personally like to see from them is to not, obviously you can't provide closure on the storyline because it's going to keep going, but I would like to see them talk about their feelings with some sort of openness and to leave Sprina in a place where they have advanced emotionally, physically, romantically in some way. So both to set up the new Trina for success, but also to give us, the actors, the fans, like the community around this couple, some sense of like closure. But yeah, I'm curious about where you all kind of see the Sprina storyline, you know, what you might want to see in the next couple weeks, and also like where do you think they're going with this sex clip story?
On behalf of Ashley, I want to Sprina kiss with Sydney and Nicholas.
Yes.
Like I want if we're switching them out and then like I don't think it's gonna because I know it's the rumor is that Tabiana is premiering later in the month. So I'm assuming that like Trina might a lot of this might be a lot on her and she might go off screen and then come back as Tabiana. And so I'm hoping that before she leaves, she goes to see Spencer and we get our first Sprina kiss with Sydney. That's what I want. But that's the most prediction I can give. As it comes to the sex tape, I want it to be done as quickly as possible because I do not trust these writers with such a sensitive topic. If this ends with Esme being redeemed too quickly, I will lose it. I will lose it. I don't want to hear about the fucking redeeming power of the human spirit when it comes to somebody who tapes people having sex and disseminates it, not just in front of your class, but to every single person on campus. I understand how she could do that because you do have access. So like at a university at UC Santa Barbara, you have access to every single person's email address that has a UCSB email address. Like when you guys email me, you use my UCSB email address. Like I can access every single student. What you cannot do, what that one student did is project it onto the screen. You cannot hijack my screen. I teach classes at this university. We have a obscene amount of firewalls because UCs have been hacked. We have a firewall between the students and the instructors. He shouldn't have been able to do that. I'm calling bullshit on that. This is not an airdrop situation or a Chromecast situation. Like you cannot just take over my fucking screen. Like no. But I hope that's done as quickly as possible because I don't want to see. I like in the words of Tanya and Tracy, I don't want to see it. But me and of course for Ashley, we need our Sprina kiss with Sydney. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Yeah, the way I would like it to go down is I actually would like the kiss tomorrow because I was like curious as to what was going to happen when we found out. I didn't know that he was going to like leave out. And so I was curious, like, oh, damn, maybe we won't get a kiss because he's going to still be in jail. But like this would be the opportunity for that to happen. And then I would like for her to like go see him as things heat up and just be like, you know what, I'm about to go visit my Aunt Gia. This is just too much. Clearly this didn't happen. Me and Cam and Josh have put this shit to rest, but I need to regroup. And then her come back from seeing her Aunt Gia as the new character. But I would love to at least like close out the kind of Sydney, as we call them, kind of pairing before we set them up for a different pairing. And I also know, you know, I was always worried about this, worried in like a good way, but like, damn, like we saw Sydney like grow up and she's like she's like my baby, you know. And so what does that mean for Sprina and like what those scenes look like once they actually heat up? And so I'm curious to see what the direction is when they bring on like an actress a little bit older who we didn't see grow up on screen.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, when I saw that they were busting Spencer out of prison and I saw Trina leave the classroom, I was like, okay, we're doing this. I do think that there's a reason why they chose to do this at this time. And so I really would like to see the Sprina kiss tomorrow, or at least an almost. I think that also based on how he was looking at her in the preview, he's gonna at least try. And I hope he succeeds. But I do think it's important to let them close out this stage of the courtship. And that I'm sure there will be plenty of obstacles for new Sprina to build around. And I think opportunities in the way that Trina's story is set up right now, and we'll talk about that again at another time, but I just want to be like super present for whatever magic Sydney and Nicholas make together, and what Sydney does with her final scenes. I don't really have much for predictions otherwise, but I'm wondering, is there anything that anyone wants to shoot out there about the Cassadines? I know that there's going to be some more like Laura and Victor stuff. I did like the Victor toasts a new beginning for the Cassadines will be happening this week. And there's a couple Ava and Nicholas scenes. Esme interrupting Ava and Nicholas. And Ava and Nicholas wonder if they're being used. The Esme interrupting Ava and Nicholas, their wedding planning is happening on Friday. And I'm hoping that also means unspoiled scenes for the rest of the teens. Oh, and Kevin is unsettled by Ryan's status. So we're going to get more Kevin and Ryan stuff.
They're putting Kevlar in danger. If Kevin keeps from Laura that Ryan may be coming out of his little like whatever locked in syndrome, it's done. I've seen fake dialogue written for Laura where she's leaving Kevin, and I can see that quickly becoming real dialogue.
I don't want that.
I don't either. I also just like my Sprina dream, it either with Sydney or if we like take it on later. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the scene of Sam and everyone's accusing her of kidnapping Christina and Michael and stuff. And then Jason breaks her out of the Greystone Manor. And they have like the Enigma song playing in the background because, you know, it's back when they didn't care about like stealing music. I'm like, I need that for Sprina. Like, I love it. It's one of my favorite scenes. I want them on the run.
Yes, of course. Sprina on the run.
When does Cam go to see Spencer? Is this not a spoiler?
That's not this coming week. It's the following week.
So I hope that this. I wonder. I mean, I hope that we see Trina go visit Spencer, and I don't know if I want it to be before Cam or after.
Oh yeah, he's the alibi.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer's her alibi.
Yeah.
But which you shouldn't even need, by the way.
But then they can't use it without everyone knowing that Spencer's out of jail.
Yep.
That's the angst I need for Sprina.
And the spoiler on Sydney's final day is Trina makes a decision. So that's what I have.
Devastated. I love just the silence. We're just like, oh, it's great.
Congratulations!
Oh my god. Like, it's just, yep.
Well, on that note.
Even my ring light was sad. It was like, we're done here. We're done.
We're done. We're done. We're done. And we're not done. Right. We still have another week. We have this week ahead of us that we're very much looking forward to see what's. I'm actually, for once, I wasn't looking forward to this week because of the emphasis on the sex tape clip, whatever. And I still have my reservations about it, but I am looking forward to this week because I do feel like so much of the ramp up in Trina's story since the beginning of the year had to do with her leaving. And so I am looking, it does feel like they've known for a while. They've been intentional about about Sydney being the person to set up the story and for it to expand in this way. So I am looking forward to whatever it is that's in store for us as viewers and to see what Sydney's created for her exit.
Same.
Same. I dimmed my ring light. I'll do it again in honor of Tracy and Sydney leaving. It's like,
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
so all the ring lights will be dark for Sydney.
My ring light refused to turn on today, and I know why.
Yeah, and I also am gonna be keep checking on the internet to see like what people are doing in honor of Sydney, so that we in Sunday shift Twitter will like post about it, and as we get closer, we'll probably announce it when we close on next week, all the things that people are planning for Sydney's last week.
It's been an honor, gentlemen. It's been an honor and a privilege.
For real.
It has been. Well, thank y'all for joining us. Do y'all have any last hot takes before we go?
Just that I've enjoyed playing with you two. And I think Tara, your hair is looking very bouncy.
Oh, thank you. In honor of
Yes, as always.
I love that last week we were like singing My Heart Will Go On, which is probably why it took so long for us to upload, because YouTube was trying to make sure that we didn't break any licensing laws. And this week we're ending with the playing as the ship goes down.
Is how you hold a violin? I don't think it is.
I don't know anything about it. I have no talent when it comes to music. I'm not Hat Daddy. I cannot write about jazz.
Jazz. All right.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.